China's economic presence on world markets is actually much smaller than that of the United States of America and smaller than our key three Asia-Pacific allies combined. In recent years, reports by financial institutions like the World Bank have claimed China is the world's largest economy. China's annual gross domestic product, GDP, when converted to United States dollars using purchasing power parity exchange rates is estimated to be worth around $19 trillion, surpassing the USA's GDP of $17 trillion. Read more. As China flexes its muscles in Antarctica, science is the best diplomatic tool on the frozen continent. China's size is a good indicator of potential economic opportunities for Australia. But China's rise is also creating a growing discomfort in how China will use its economic power. In both Washington and Canberra, questions are being asked about how to balance economic interests with these growing political and security concerns. As a large country, China may insist on a greater acceptance of its own ideals and priorities as a condition of economic engagement. As a dictatorship, however, its ambitions are unclear and may not align well with Australia and other democratic countries in the region. Likewise, China's assertiveness in the South China Sea has rekindled interest in security cooperation between the region's largest democracies, Japan, India and Australia, as well as the United States through the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. The concerns raised are real, but are in some ways exaggerated. Specifically, the figure of $19 trillion is an estimate based on a purchasing power parity exchange rate, which overstates China's impact on world markets. This is because the purchasing power parity exchange rate tells us how much money you need in China to be as well off as you are in the US. It is a measure of how big China's GDP would be if costs of living were the same as the US. This can be useful, but it is not an indicator of China's footprint in the world economy. Read more. Australia is hedging its bets on China with the latest foreign policy white paper. A reasonable measure of a country's economic footprint on the world economy is how much it could potentially change demand or supply on world markets. When countries export, they have to accept payment based on market exchange rates. Likewise, when countries import, they must pay in foreign currency based on market exchange rates. This means that to compare China's market size with the US, we need to convert China's GDP, measured through China's currency renminbi, to US dollars, using market exchange rates. China's GDP measured at market exchange rates, however, is only $9 trillion, almost half that of the US. This means that the impact China's economy can potentially have on the world economy is really only about half as much as the US. The difference in values arises for the same reason that tourists find that their money often goes much further in developing countries. That is, if you convert your US dollars to renminbi, you will find that you can purchase a lot more in China than the US, especially in non-traded goods and services such as haircuts or street food. The purchasing power parity exchange rate is the rate that tells you how much you need in China to be just as well off, for example, to buy the same basket of goods.